Hi, everybody. It's Dominic Rubino from Cabinetmakerprofitsystem.com. How are you? I always love being with you guys. I have to tell you, last night I went to an NKBA meeting, which is National Kitchen and Bath Association meeting. It was great. I learned all about stainless steel sinks. It was a wonderful meeting and actually quite educational. But one of the things that it reminded me of was the need for all of us in this industry to understand how to get the sales that we need to keep our businesses running. This specifically comes from one of the conversations I had last night. And some of the mistakes that we make when we go out to do residential selling. So that is when we're selling our projects to a homeowner. Whether that person needs cabinetry or design work, or we're selling them countertops, any sort of trade really whatsoever, whatever we're selling them, are we making mistakes that are stepping on our sale, as we call it? So before I start, let me give you a little bit of a background, because those of you who've been listening or watching my podcast might think of me as the business strategy guy, the growth guy that shows the owners of cabinetry and architectural millwork shops and countertop shops how to run their businesses better. But how do I come to this business, and what gives me the right to now be talking about sales and selling? Well, what I've also been doing in my life is I'm an entrepreneur, and I've had a number of companies, but I come at entrepreneurship differently than maybe you do. You might have come at this through trades. Some of you come at it through design or engineering or architecture, etc. My professional background was in sales management, and marketing management. And so that's how I sort of grew up in business. I was always running my own businesses in school and in university, and doing quite happily, failing at some and succeeding at others. One of my best named companies was the Yo Ho Ho Light Co. I installed Christmas lights on people's houses. That was a fun company. But I'll tell you, everything I did required me to sell. And one of the hardest places that I had to sell was selling painting, home painting, selling house painting. I was one of those university painting company guys. And I learned trial by fire in that, because if you don't sell, if you can't sell, if you can't manage people, manage clients, then you're just not going to make it. And I did that for a couple of years, not just one summer like some guys. I did that for a couple of years and a couple of different flavors. But I also went on to a background in professional sales, and that moved into sales management and marketing management, and then eventually business ownership, and then entrepreneurship, where I've run and sold a number of companies in the last few years. Enough about me, except for one more thing. The company that I'm currently selling is a company that I run with my brand partner, Brian Tracy. Now, Brian Tracy is a very well-known author in the world of business and sales improvement. One of his best books on this particular subject, and you please go out and get it, is called The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy. Go look it up on Amazon. Fantastic book. And that's where we're going to talk about some of these mistakes. That's where the information comes from. So let me take you through. There's 8 mistakes. There's this many mistakes, that many, that you could be making that I don't want you to make anymore when you go in and sell a residential job as a tradesperson. So whatever you're representing as a trade, okay? So that these are some of the mistakes you make. So let's just jump into it right now. Don't forget, if you're listening to this as an audio, you can watch it as a video. If you're watching this as a video, you can listen to it as a podcast. And either way, there's a transcript of this that you can download and share with your sales team. If you're the owner of the company, please ask your salespeople to watch this. Maybe make this one of your sales meetings. Just go to YouTube, turn it on, and say, okay, listen to Rubino and see what we can learn from him today about how to sell more of what we do. And what impressed me last night at the NKBA meeting was how proud everybody was of the quality and the pride that they put into their work. And then I flipped in my mind to thinking, what are the buyers thinking? They hear us all say, well, we do the best work and we're proud of what we do, but do they understand and do they know enough to make the decision? And today's episode is about making the decision. So here's 8 mistakes I want you to avoid. The number one mistake, and it's not number one, but it's one of the number ones, and it's actually first in the line of the flow chart of a sales process, is number one is going into a meeting without doing a 20-minute pre-meeting. A 20-minute pre-meeting. So what is that if you've never used it before? In the world of professional selling, in the world of consultative selling, so that's the super high-end selling to very big corporations, one of the tools that we use very effectively is a pre-meeting to qualify who's going to be at the meeting, what the needs are. We want to make sure they understand, know, like, and trust us, and that we reset the expectations for the face-to-face meeting. And if you've ever shown up to somebody's house to sell a countertop job or a cabinetry job or whatever it is, and they're not there, and you left just furious and, oh, how come they blew the appointment? It's because you didn't do that 20-minute pre-meeting. So a 20-minute pre-meeting done 3 days before the actual face-to-face increases your chance of getting that sale. It really increases it. So that's one of the mistakes that we see people making in the field, is not doing that simple, very simple 20-minute pre-meeting. Now, please stay tuned to our channel here, Cabinetmakerprofitsystem.com, because we're going to talk a lot more about that pre-meeting as time goes on. Okay, that's number one. Number two, and this one's big, there's no need for this one. No need at all. This is super easy to fix. Number two is not showing up on time for the appointment. There's no excuse to be late, especially with cell phones now. We can text somebody and say we're going to be late, but showing up late for an appointment is really disrespectful to the other party. So even if you're running late, if you're at another meeting, if you're stuck in traffic, make sure that you reach out and let them know, hey, I'm going to be a few minutes late. And that way you've set the expectations right away that what your service level looks like as a professional provider. So if you're selling windows and doors and they're expecting you to be there at 6:30 at night when their family's all eating dinner and now you can talk, and you show up at 6:45, how do I say this? It's the same thing when you walk into a restaurant and you go to the bathroom's filthy. What is it that you think right away about the state of their kitchen? If the bathroom's filthy, the kitchen's probably filthy too, right? And if the kitchen's filthy, the food is disgusting and I'm probably going to get sick. Well, people feel the same way if you're late to an appointment. So no more being late to an appointment. Use your cell phone, text them, and let them know that you're going to be late if you're going to be late. As a matter of fact, if you want to take this and you want to just get to 0, be on time. If you want to get ahead of the curve, text them a few minutes before you arrive and let them know something like this. Hey, Smith family, looks like I'm going to be there a few minutes early. You might see me parked outside, but I'll come in at 5 or 6, whatever time it is. And that way they're getting a sense of what your customer service is like before you even do anything. And they think, here's a person that makes commitments and that keeps commitments. And that's what we need in our window and door person, our countertop person, our design person, our cabinetry person, whatever it is. You're starting to put big tick marks in the yes column. And if somebody else shows up against you, a competitor, they show up late, they didn't do the 20-minute pre-call, you see how the cards are starting to stack against the other guy? You don't have to be the other guy anymore. Avoid these mistakes. Let's move on to number 3, okay? Hopefully you're taking notes, and if you're not, please remember the transcript is available, and you can watch this on YouTube or listen to it as a podcast and share it with your business partners or friends as well. Number 3, no social media reach out beforehand. Now, because all of our businesses tend to be different, like a window and door person might reach out differently than an architectural mill worker, might reach out differently than a countertop person. Because we're all different, I'm not going to tell you which channel to use or where you're already really good. Some are good on Facebook, some are good on Instagram, some are good on Twitter, or whatever you need to do, and whatever channel that person that you're going to meet is on. But do something there to reach out to them beforehand. So if we choose something, let's just say a simple one like LinkedIn. LinkedIn is Facebook for adults that are in business. It's a really powerful tool. If I'm going to meet Mr. and Mrs. Smith in a couple of days, one of the things that would be important for me to do is reach out to them on LinkedIn. And in LinkedIn, I'm able to put a message. And in that message, I'm going to say, let's connect. Looking forward to meeting you Tuesday at 6:30 at your house. Have a great day. See you soon. And so now we've got that LinkedIn connection. It's minor. It's little. But again, it's another tick yes in the yes column, because you now look like a professional. You're handling yourself professionally. They know they can trust you, and you're starting to add things in their mind that show that you follow through on commitments. So it's very simple to do, and missing that is a big mistake. And it could be the one mistake that's holding you back from increasing your sales conversion rate that you didn't even know about. So use that one. Number 4, this one is an absolute deal killer. Absolute deal killer. If you don't hit number 4, you will not sell. You will not succeed in this business. You got to change industries. You ready for this one? Because it's big. It's important. And I'm going to save you a ton of time and heartache. The mistake that people make is not having all decision makers present at the sales meeting. So what does that mean? Again, if we're selling to Mr. and Mrs. Jones, having Mr. Jones there but not Mrs. Jones there equals no sale. It equals no sale. Having Mrs., having the opposite, right? Having the wife there but not the husband, no sale. Having the husband there but not the wife, no sale. And I cannot stress enough how important it is to have all decision makers present to have the sale happen. Now, one of them is going to be the actual decision maker, and the other one is going to be the influencer. I know when I was selling painting jobs, residential repainting jobs, I was in a selling in a very affluent area, lots of architects and judges and lawyers and business people and beautiful heritage homes. In some areas, you would call them century homes. They're over 100 years old, beautiful homes with lots of detailing and hard to get to because they're all packed close together. So it was a very difficult painting job. But I learned very quickly that one of the people in the couple would be the decision maker and the other one would be the influencer. I had to figure out which one that was when I was sitting across the kitchen table. But what was most important was that both of them were there. Both of them were there. Because one's going to make the decision to do the job. The other one's going to make the decision to pay for the job. And what happens when we don't have both decision makers present is you've now given them the opportunity to use the objection with you that says, this looks great. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to talk to my wife. She couldn't make it today, but I've got all your information. Thank you so much. I'm going to keep it on file and I'll talk to my wife. We'll get back to you after I talk to her. And then you leave with 1,000-pound weight on your shoulders because you've just blown that sale. And let me tell you where the mistake was that you could have fixed it. The mistake was in number one. Do you remember what number one was? Look back in your notes. The 20-minute pre-call. Because in that 20-minute pre-call, when I have the conversation with the family or the people that we're going to be selling to, I would be talking, let's say, to Mrs. Jones, and I'll say, Mrs. Jones, will Mr. Jones be there for our face-to-face appointment? If she says no, do not go on that appointment. It is a full stop. You cannot go. You can go, but you're wasting your time. And you're going to lose the sale. You're actually killing the sale. Dead and done. And I can't stress it enough. I want you to lock this into your head. If all decisions makers are not present, you are not going to get that sale. So on mistake number one, which is the 20-minute pre-call, that's where you confirm all decision makers will be there. And then when you show up for the face-to-face, now they know the rules are set. All decision makers are there. Let's move to the next one. We're going to be talking a lot about the 20-minute pre-call because it is probably one of the strongest ways to increase the amount of sales you make on any given day and time. All right. This one might sound interesting to you. All decision makers, everybody has to be sitting down during the sales presentation. Now, in some cases, guys, this can be hard. If you are if you're selling to renovators or somebody who's flipping a house or somebody who's renovating while they're living in it, there might not be anywhere to sit. But let's leave that on the side for a second, because then I at least want you crowded around the same table or countertop. But if you want the highest chance of your sale happening, you need to be sitting down all together, uninterrupted. Now, this can be crazy when the Smith family has their kids running around, the dog is barking and all that stuff. You have to really, really, really work hard at making sure all decision makers are present and everybody is sitting down for the presentation. So that means one of them can't get up and walk away. If they get up to walk away, don't continue the presentation. Wait for him or her to come back. If he says, hey, I just have to go walk the dog, say, oh, that's great. We'll wait for you to come back. This sale has to happen. It has to happen, and it can't happen while he's out on a walk. What they're doing is they're building in their objection by saying, listen, when this guy Rubino shows up, he's going to do the tour of the house. He's going to measure our cabinets, and he's going to want us to sit down. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take the dog for a walk, and you talk to him. And that way, when he tells us the price, you can say, my husband's not here. We're going to have to think about it. And now you've just wasted time away from your family, gas and time in traveling. You're going to have to explain to yourself or your sales manager why you didn't make that slam dunk sale that you should have had for the Smith family. And you've now wasted time that you could have been with a better qualified prospect who is ready, willing, and able to buy. You've actually taken one appointment out of your whole roster of appointments for the year, and it's taking money out of your pocket. You can't go walk that dog. So now you can't tell somebody they can't go walk the dog. You have to make sure that the situation is controlled so that all decision makers are present for the full time. Okay. So all decision makers are present. And the other mistake is people do this sale without everybody sitting down. Everybody must be sitting down. Here's number 6. What do we got here? 5, 6. Number 6, right? So if you're following along, number 6, if you're reading this on the transcript, it's going to be pretty obvious. If you're taking notes, this is number 6. I hate this one. I have taken salespeople out on the road where I have flown to another state. I've left my family, flown to another state because they're begging me, Dom, please come out. Show me how to sell. I need to sell. I know what I'm doing, but I just can't get these deals. And so we go on the sales call after I've left my family, flown all day to get to there, to get in the car, to drive to the appointment, to get to the person. We get the deal, and my sales rep doesn't have the paperwork ready in hand. You see my face? How happy am I right now? Horrible. It's so easy. Bring the paperwork. Bring the contract. How could you go on a sales call without the contract? At the very first thing, it's mental preparation. I'm going to get this deal. So I have the contract prepared and ready. I have a contract with me, and I have a working pen. These are very simple things, but these are mistakes I don't want you to make. For those of you who have chosen to use this as your sales meeting, you don't have to point to anybody, but somebody in this group right now feels pretty bad going, yeah, a couple times I haven't brought the paperwork, or I brought the wrong paperwork, or I didn't have a working pen. It sounds so simple, but all of these little things have to be taken into account. Sales, professional sales, doing sales right and being successful at it is a lot like a game of chess. Every little move counts. Everything counts. And so all of these little things really add up to success in the end. So please don't make that mistake. Bring your paperwork. Bring a working pen. All good? We're all agreed? Everybody hands up? All right, good. Hey, let's move on to the next one. Number 7. The mistake that salespeople make is if they do more talking than listening. So ask yourself, am I doing more talking than listening in this sales meeting? And if you find yourself doing that, stop. Ask an open-ended question. That's what it's called, an open-ended question. And you can search that on Google. If you want examples of great open-ended questions, there's a number of great books on that. Brian Tracy's The Psychology of Selling. Jeffrey Gitomer's The Sales Bible. There's a whole bunch of great books out there who talk about open-ended selling strategies and questions. So an open-ended question starts with puckering up. See, my job is actually to make this a little bit fun and easy to understand. So everybody do this. Ooh, ooh. I know some of you are grossed out right now, but listen, all we're doing is starting out with who, how, where, when, what, or why. Who, how, where, when, what, why. They're called the 6 honest serving men. Starting any question with who, how, where, when, what, why gives you an open-ended question, right? Who do you think would be using the bottom cabinets most? When would your countertops have the most use and abuse? That's an open-ended question. I don't have to do the talking. They're going to then talk, and I can just listen. Taking my notes and understanding and say, well, based on that, what do you think is the best solution for a countertop? And they're going to keep talking. How would the perfect countertop fit into your family's plans? When you have people over, what kind of impression do you want them to have looking at your kitchen countertops? Let them do the talking. So it should be, let's say, a 70-30 split with you doing 30% of the talking, not the other way around. There's a great saying that God blessed us with 2 ears and 1 mouth, and so we should use them in proportion. I do like that one. So make sure that you're not doing more talking than listening. That's a big mistake. And if you want more information on that, look up the use of open-ended questions in your selling process, and you will see you'll be able to double your sales just with that one strategy, just by changing the way you communicate with the people you're sitting across from. Okay. And then here's number 8. Number 8 is not asking for the sale. You actually have to ask for the sale. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I would love to do this house. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, when can we get started? Mr. and Mrs. Smith, let's look on the calendar and get you booked in now, because things are getting busy. As you know, it's hard to find tradespeople right now, and my best team is actually available in a week and a half. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, what would it take for you to make a decision tonight? Mr. and Mrs. Smith, if I could show you how your kitchen cabinets would completely transform the value of this house, in this renovation, would you want to go ahead today? Mr. and Mrs. Smith, can we get started? Mr. and Mrs. Smith, can we fill out an application? All of those, any of those are great closing questions. And I do want to remind you that all of those questions need to be asked multiple times. So you should be aiming in any sales meeting to be asking a closing question about 7 or 8 times. You can't close too much. You just change the way you close once you've got the deal, but you need to ask for the deal. I would be proud to work in another, I'm repeating myself on person. I would be proud to work in another house like this on this block. I would be so proud to do another doctor's house like yours. I would be proud to do another renovation like this, where somebody completely transformed a bungalow into your vision. I would be proud to do another, and just come up with your closing questions and statements and be prepared to use them with confidence to let that person know that you're ready to do this work. You have to ask. Okay, we have been going now for 27 minutes. That's not too bad. 27 minutes is not too bad to get through 8 mistakes that you could be doing when selling residential jobs. What I'd like to ask you to do is keep checking back here on the podcast, on the website, on the YouTube channel. I'm going to be bringing in people, other business owners who are actually out there selling. One of the ones I've got coming up right away is a gentleman that I know who does just a fantastic job. It's a family business, and they sell windows and doors, but they sell more windows and doors than anybody else in the market. And so why is everybody else fighting for 2nd to 7th place? And these guys are so far ahead. And we're going to find that out when we interview Chris here in the next couple of weeks. I've just reached out to him and asked him to be on the podcast. And of course, you know what? He's busy because he has sales calls all the time. And he can't get on the podcast. But keep checking back here. We are going to continue to develop the sales side of this, as we also continue to develop the business improvement side of Cabinet Maker Profit System podcast. Now, one of the most popular programs, definitely the one I get the most questions about and have the most conversations about, is the 90-Day Profit Lab. Applications are open for that. We've had an outstanding response, is a good way to say it, to the 90-Day Profit Lab. So if you're interested in that, I don't know if you would qualify until we set an appointment in advance first. So what you do is you go to the website, there's an application button. So you just apply, give us a couple of details, and then I'll get in touch with you for a quick phone call before we actually get into the meat and potatoes of things. Now, some people have said, well, Dom, what do you mean I wouldn't qualify? Well, some companies don't qualify. You can't benefit from the 90-Day Profit Lab. Either there's something holding your company back that I'm not professionally trained to deal with, or there's something on my side that I'm not comfortable with your business, or you're not comfortable with me. That happens too, sure. Nobody ever tells me that, but I'm sure that happens. And we have to make that decision together. So the 90-Day Profit Lab, people are contacting me about that because the output, or what you get at the end, is you're either going to work with me to get more money or get more time off. And now as the summer is approaching, as I'm recording this right now, it's June, and people are thinking about summer. And 4 out of the 5 people I talked to last month that had questions about time said to me they can't see taking summer vacation again this year. That's not fair. I mean, everybody else gets to take summer vacation except you and your family, and you're the ones employing everybody else and doing this great work, beautiful craftsmanship you're proud of, and you don't get to take time off. 4 out of the 5 people I talked to that were talking about time told me they probably would not get to take summer vacation again this year, which means they haven't been taking it in the last few years. And your wife and kids can only take that for so long, or your husband and kids can only take that for so long. So anyways, if it's worth a conversation. If you want to talk, go to the application button and click there. It's very simple. Any other questions you've got, please reach out to me. I'm always looking for great subjects. I'm always looking for great people to interview for the podcast. So if your company is doing something really, really well and you want to be a guest on the podcast, why not ask me? In this life, you get to ask for whatever you want, and we can go from there. So that is my lesson for you today. So there's the 8 mistakes I want you to avoid when selling residential jobs. keep them in mind. Share this video with your sales team. Share this video with your partner, whoever you need to. And if I can help in any other way, of course, give me a call. Have a great day, everybody. I always enjoy communicating with you and talking to you and sharing some insights. So I hope you got a lot from today. We'll talk to you soon.